Well, we're going to prank call Shifty Schiff because he was censored by the House of Representatives. We're going to prank call him. Here we go.
Hello, this is Congressman Adam Schiff. Thank you for calling my Washington, D.C. office. My staff are busy and unavailable to answer your call at the moment, but we look forward to taking down your comments and answering any questions you might have. If you are calling regarding official congressional business or need staff assistance, please email schiff.message@mail.house.gov. To leave a message for our office, press 3.
To leave a message for Congressman Schiff, please record your name, zip code, and a message at the tone.
Well, this message is for the Honorable Adam Schiff. They call you the Honorable Adam Schiff. And I just have to say, Shifty, you were censored by the House of Representatives because Russia was a hoax. It was a complete and total hoax. You knew it was a hoax the entire time. So I'm wondering when you're going to apologize because you're called honorable, okay? You're supposed to apologize. Honorable means you're not supposed to be so dishonest. You know, you were so dishonest. You lied during impeachment hoax number 1. So I want to know when you're going to apologize for being dishonest because you got censured. You know that? You got censured. You're not supposed to get censured. Not a good thing. And it happened to you because you lied about the hoax. So I want you to apologize to the American people. And maybe in 2024, when you have a new president, maybe there'll be a pardon. Maybe there'll be something where we don't even have to talk about it. But until then, you should apologize for what you did because you've been censured and there's no coming back from that. Thank you, Shifty Schiff, Pencil Neck, Bug Eyes, Watermelon Head. I look forward to talking to you soon.
This guy's the best that I've seen at impersonating Trump.
So good.
His voice is uncannily
That was
accurate.
amazing.
Oh my
that
God.
was an imitation. I thought they were doing Trump's voice over the.
No.
That was so
I thought
funny
he
that
was just
Sean's
really good at
cameras
dubbing.
even fell over in the middle of it.
Yes, I was that blown away.
It is that good. It is that good. I'm kind of going, did he use some AI to help him? Or, I mean, it's uncanny. You close your eyes and anyway, thought I'd give a minute for people to start rolling in. I'm going to apologize ahead of time to everyone.
What?
Everybody on the panel at some point is going to get stepped on, talked over, interrupted.
Oh, I'm putting out a tweet right now. So I did the same joke that we did.
Impossible to keep track. It's not intentional. Folks in the chat and in the comments, we get it. This is kind of a free-for-all, food frenzy.
It's a food fight.
Definitely a food fight. And let me see. I don't know who is studying what, but I've got vices here. So let's start out dark. And we just had a horrible maritime incident, and that's kind of your specialty.
It is.
I'm going to kick off with you and your thoughts on the Titanic sub.
It's not horrible. Come on, he crushed it.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Too soon?
Probably a little. They say, what did they say?
Okay.
Humor is about time and delivery.
Time. Tragedy plus time equals comedy.
All right. Sorry. We'll give it a week or two. But yeah, no. I mean, sorry. Levity.
Well, Jocelyn Shia gave it like 12 years, and she still is getting censured by Malaysia. The country Malaysia is mad at her for a joke. But we're talking about the submarine thing. So.
The only things that I figure are off limits forever is like 9/11 and Steve Irwin. That's like it. Everything else is fair game instantly.
Well, not to make fun of this, but these people were kind of tempting fate by doing something so
Not only kind of. Did you notice the I put out a short on this, but did you see the interview that CEO gave talking about how he didn't want to hire the typical sub company had ex-military who are all, quote, 50-year-old white men, and he deliberately didn't hire them because they're not inspirational.
Yeah, they're just old. They're 50-year-old white men.
I think
the experts.
I think it wasn't that they weren't inspirational. Because did you see his other comment that he made where he said safety is a waste of money? I suspect that the guys who had a lot of experience and things.
Okay,
famous last words before a lawsuit.
core of the this essentially it's just a cylinder with a Logitech game controller, some store-bought computers, and he was bragging that he got the interior lighting from Camping World because we certainly wouldn't want commercial grade lighting in there.
I'm sorry, but if somebody is paying $250,000 a ticket, you would think that they'd be able to afford something a
Jeff,
yes.
if I may, look, every one of us waits for that perfect moment when our specialty and right. events in the news manage to coincide the way it did for Legal Mindset, where all of a sudden it's like, wow, we're going to happen to have some issue about special districts in Florida.
Yeah,
the most ridiculous
into the freaking dirt.
Yeah, the most ridiculous niche law in the world, and it's going to be all over the news with Mickey Mouse and DeSantis, and he can milk that sucker to like ride his channel, and God bless him because he is awesome at covering it. Your moment is here. You can't be making jokes about this. This has to be your zone. You got to be zeroing on all the legal issues, putting out video after video about the submarine disaster. This is it. This is your time.
We're going to be doing that, yeah.
Everyone needs to follow Legal Vices because this guy's going to rock the hell out of this topic, and no more freaking
I've got about 1,000 subscribers in the last 2 days, so I'm doing okay.
But I love how nobody's even thinking about the Pakistani 300.
No, that was it. That was that was my Maritime Monday last week. Was the fact that and who was it? Who was the actor that mentioned this and kind of got semi-ratioed? I can't think of who it was, but basically it's the same thing. There was an incident off the coast of Greece where a ship capsized. It was empty from Egypt. It docked in Libya, picked up a ridiculous 700. It's a small fishing boat. It picked up 700 people trying to get to Italy. It was way overcrowded, and it capsized off the coast of Greece, literally within viewpoint of the Greek Navy, the Greek Coast Guard, and 600 people have died from this. Nobody's talking about this on the news, but 5 billionaires get wall-to-wall coverage from every single news outlet and every YouTuber on planet Earth. But 600 people dying in view of the Coast Guard of Greece catches nothing.
Well, because this is kind of unusual. And by the way, I think it was Stalin who said, you can kill 1 million without notice, but you kill one child and everybody notices. It's a similar principle.
It is.
Also, it feeds into our fears of claustrophobia, being in a tube, down there with the absolute unknown. Then the fact that they're all moneyed and that's crazy. And there's some sad ones too, like the poor kid. I guess there was the teenage kid was terrified to go, but it was Father's Day. So he did it for his dad. And I'm like, that stories like that hurts.
Sucks. Well, that's really bad. Kimme here in chat says, aside from the tragedy in Greece, I wonder if there's any other big news story that was overshadowed by missing billionaires. Apart from another pandemic, there was a fire on a Filipino cruise ship, the Esperanza Star. There was 120 people on that. It caught on fire. Mercifully, there was no tragedy. But the fact that there's a cruise ship that's on fire, nothing, not a blip on the radar.
I think he's talking about all of the disclosures of the Biden corruption.
Yeah, coincidentally, they had a recording of the implosion.
Yeah,
they knew when it happened, and they held back on the news drop to coincide potentially at the same time as a lot of other. You got to admit, the news cycle did get hijacked.
Eric, next thing you know, you're going to be saying that we're bombing milk factories to hide.
No,
wait, never mind.
I'm going to push back on that, Eric. I'm going to push back on that because if you think about it for a second, if you're the president, right, and you have indications that maybe this tragedy happened, but you don't know it happened, and you share that with the public before it's confirmed, and imagine it turns out that there was some sort of mistake in interpreting that information. While I'll never attach good intention to the Biden administration for anything. I still think to myself, like, if they release that information and somehow it turns out that their speculation about what they heard was wrong, That's a real tragedy.
Joe, which is better to say we heard something which may be an implosion, but we're still gonna search until we get confirmation, or to hide it and search and get everybody's hope up, talk about these knocks you're hearing every 30 minutes, and then eventually go, wait a minute, we knew this all along.
I hate to interrupt. Hold on. Hold on. We got Rekieta here for 40 minutes, and I've got a full stream. So I don't know what to do in this scenario. Does anybody have an appointment or anything that they have to get to for a short period of time? Or
if you bump me, what vouchers are you offering if you bump one?
Look, bump me, and I'll try to bump back in.
And you're welcome to hit me too if you want. So whatever you need.
I'm gonna do. I have 2 kids upstairs.
Well, it'll just be you and Nick. We'll all bump out.
I appreciate it.
I'm not going anywhere.
How do I remove myself from?
Was my joke the lawyer in me or the Jew in me? That's what I want to know.
This is my wheelhouse. I'm not leaving.
Nick just brings racist jokes out of me. So there you go.
I wasn't even on the stream when you got racist.
No, I just have to hear you in the background, and all of a sudden, like that comes out.
I just wanted to say this idea, like, if you put that out there, we pretty sure we heard something implode. Most people are going to say, then why are we even bother looking? We know they're dead.
Exactly. Because it's not confirmed.
Because that's the reality of it.
It's not confirmed.
Okay, how many other things were imploding in the ocean that day?
But they brought out this whole we're hearing banging sounds every 30 minutes. That was unconfirmed. That meant nothing. Why put that out?
That's true.
This is not the first time that's happened, though. The banging sounds, that's happened with prior sub things.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stuff underwater.
The ocean is a freaking noisy place.
But when I actually saw the remarks made about the banging noise, they were like, yeah, this can be organic. This can be all sorts of things. We don't know what this is. And it's the media that said, oh, yeah, this means they're alive. And I'm like, no.
So what you're saying is that there was banging noises underwater because it was late and it was banging.
It was every 30. Yeah, it was like a rave. It was an underwater rave, banging every 30 minutes.
Because they're late. Okay.
Well, because there were even people who were saying that they were doing it in Morse code and going SOS, and that was not factual in any way whatsoever.
They said SOS type things. I mean, and see, that was the thing. That's why I said this is BS and it's a false flag thing, because these are people that would know that. I mean, everybody knows that an SOS is a ... thing, not just a pounding furiously. If they wanted to send an SOS, they would have sent an SOS.
Is there anybody in here who's an expert on pounding and lateness?
I'm an expert on pounding, but I don't know about lateness.
But the odds are, how many of them knew Morse code, though?
I'm an expert on premature conclusions, but never mind.
Well, everything that was reported know Morse code now.
Everything was that we reported was wrong, right? Because it's now concluded essentially that they went down and imploded on their way down, and so the banging and the air pocket sound or whatever that happened 2 days ago, all of that was not attributed to this at the end of the day. That's why it's important to kind of find the wreck.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from this fact that the Coast Guard is very Pollyanna-ish. They assume everything is a search and rescue. They do not assume search and recovery. They assume search and rescue until there is incontrovertible proof that it is no longer a search and rescue.
I like that idea.
There you go. Yeah.
So implosion implies that they were crushed to death, not that they drowned.
Instantly.
Yeah, so they never saw it coming.
Well, look, I mean,
you don't drown at that depth.
Yeah, it takes 2 to 2.5 hours to go from sea level to, what was it, 3,800 meters, which is 2.5 miles below the surface.
It's
a visible light is gone at 1,200 meters. And so they were about 3/4 or at least 2/3 of the way into this journey down to the bottom when they lost contact and when they heard this noise. So, I mean, they were the numbers I've heard, and someone even mentioned it on Nick's stream earlier today, that at the time they heard this implosion sound, within 30 milliseconds, the temperatures would have increased. The implosion temperatures would have reached 190 to 300,000 degrees.
Now, why?
So I mean, it was
I don't
gone.
understand the mechanism for heat generation. Is it the steel bending inward?
It's the air.
It's the depressurization,
friction,
the impact. It's just the whole. It's essentially you're creating a black hole. That kind of. It doesn't
really matter. The heat doesn't matter because you're being squished by metal and water at
they would have been dead in a millisecond. Nothing.
Yeah. It's faster than your brain activity can register anything's happening.
Yeah.
Literally 1,000th of a second, they were people, and then they were marinara sauce.
It's just good that none of their wives were with them, because that'd be the only thing faster than them dying would be their wife criticizing their decision to go on the submarine in the first place before they died.
You should have asked for directions.
It must be a painless death if you think about it.
They wouldn't even.
It's more
they wouldn't have known anything was wrong.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been.
And then that's what I said yesterday. Is honestly, this is the best case scenario. They were gone like that. That's it. That's the best case scenario.
Well, no, the best
worst case scenarios are actually still alive.
I don't know. That would be so traumatic being down there that long. Let's say they got rescued after 36 hours, they'd be warped in the head. I mean, imagine the PTSD. Ugh.
I was really hoping that one of them would have like gone full anime and they would have like recovered the submersible and opened it up and they would have been in Zen meditation, covered, dripping in blood. Like,
well, no, that was the thing.
Eviscerated around them.
Well,
it's like I had to say where.
Who was the first person you would kill on that voyage?
The CEO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was the guy that got you into it. You take him out, everybody else automatically gets an extra day of oxygen.
Yep.
Good idea.
You get rid of the guy that got you into it.
What if you are the CEO? Who do you kill?
If you are the CEO, nobody, because there's 4 other people trying to kill you. You don't get to kill anybody.
You're like, I know kung fu.
I did see some very morbid arguments that essentially, if there were dead bodies in the submersible, that would actually consume oxygen in a similar way to somebody who was still alive. So it would kind of be a moot point. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I don't know exactly.
Them to prevent decomposition.
I can't exactly explain the science, but.
I mean, you either have a choice. The issue isn't like the oxygen, though, right? It's usually isn't the issue getting rid of the carbon dioxide, like normally the problem.
Yeah.
And that didn't look like there was any scrubber. Well, the maximum time frame for this was 2.5 hours to go down, 5 hours to screw around, and 2.5 hours to go up. It was a 10-hour. It was a Gilligan's Island. It was a 10-hour tour. Exactly. It was a Gilligan's Island 10-hour tour. Lovey didn't have to bring 5 chests of her great evening dresses and whatnot to last for 3 seasons on TV. It was a 10-hour tour. They didn't need oxygen scrubbers for this. They weren't supposed to be down more than 10 hours. And that's why nobody knew they were gone, because the communications went out. The first idea they had that something was wrong was when they didn't surface when they were supposed to.
Was there any indication as to why they didn't have any sort of lifeline or line to the surface at all? Because
that would be
Cameron and all of that stuff.
Because
he had lines.
Oh, go ahead.
And this is actually what the CEO said. There was no radio communication. He insisted on only text messages because he was tired of them interrupting him with demands for checks every few minutes. He wanted silence.
This dude could get text messages under the ocean?
Yeah.
I can't get text messages at the end of my driveway.
That was literally it. He wanted silence. He was tired of being interrupted by all these requests.
Is this the one that died, though? The CEO that died?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they all died. But
he said he would be remembered for the rules that he broke.
Yes.
Exactly.
That is true. He is remembered for the rules that he broke.
Yeah, so that checked out.
And the more you hear about this, the worse it gets.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we want to discuss the legal aspects of it, have we talked about the waiver that they signed?
It's meaningless. Yeah. It's utterly what I've been saying, and Nick mentioned it earlier on his stream. It's like if you go to Yankee Stadium to watch a baseball game, the waiver covers you if you get hit by a line drive ball coming down if you're sitting on the foul line, you get a line drive ball to the face. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to claim it because you've assumed the risk of sitting there. But if one of the players comes up to you and whacks you in the face with a baseball bat, you get to claim.
Or if it turns out that there's a gas leak that they knew about and it blows up, it's like.
What would you get? I mean, what's the company worth now? What do you just hand the keys over?
We don't know.
Their assets are a design for a submarine that implodes at depth, and a rental of the surface ship, and maybe a second sub. I don't know.
They have a nice website.
Well, I haven't watched any legal discussions on this, but I'm curious as to, will the families be suing for wrongful death, and can they sue for that, considering the waiver?
Well, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the waiver covers it. I just don't.
And you can call me. I have a great firm to farm you out to if you're really interested.
Well, did they disclose
I mentioned this
to
last night that even with the waivers, it's kind of like race car drivers in their fireproof suits.
Yeah.
You'd think it works, but a lot of times it doesn't. And
exactly.
I use if you're familiar with Nicky Loud, I use that as a great example.
Yeah, but there's an inherent design flaw. Did they disclose to them that the windows were bought for cheap? And
no, actually they did disclose. No, they said nothing. They said nothing passes anything of any standard in the waiver. But I do have one question. Is anybody thinking about this? Everyone who died is freaking rich beyond comprehension. So what are they going to get out of a lawsuit?
Vengeance. I think that they're going to sue just to put that company as underwater as the rest of their assets.
Yeah.
They might have an insurance
family.
They could sue for $1.
Insurance claim.
Criminal liability too.
Like Gwyneth Paltrow.
He's dead.
A lot of people think rich people don't care about money, but rich people care about money more than anyone else.
That's why they have it.
Yeah,
but
it's like what you were just.
There's nothing to go at. Like
there
even
could be insurance. There could be insurance.
I mean,
don't think he's the kind of guy buying
a $10 million liability payout for the death of a billionaire? Like, the amount. There's no way they're going to recoup the value of the wrongful death.
Especially not when literally three of the five are billionaires.
Well, they get a refund. But an attorney's best friend is the client with principles and money.
Yeah.
So if they have the principles to go after him.
I wonder if AOC is going to go down there and eat the rich.
The amount of money involved.
No, that's Plankton's doing that already.
Yeah. The amount of money for the lawsuit is trivial to them, right? Hiring a lawyer is like us, me buying a can of Coke. So why not?
I mean, look, as someone who deals with maritime insurance daily, literally the insurance companies don't care. They have a ton of money. And this thing I've mentioned, and one of the reasons they don't care is a lot of things that most people don't know is insurance companies have insurance companies, the reinsurance industry.
Yeah.
The insurers are insured, so they have to pay out just an absolute F ton of money. They go to their insurers and go, "Hey guys, we had to pay out this, so please pay us out."
But that's what happened with 2008 is you had the underwriters themselves. Like it can get so bad that the insurers can't even pay for it.
But who thinks this float around and find out CEO was concerned about buying insurance because his son was never going to break?
No, Steve, you are absolutely correct. I don't know. And see that's where all this is going to lie is what was the insurance coverage? I'm in Nick's camp. It's probably not going to be all that great.
Yeah, it's going to turn out to be a forged. It's going to turn out to be a forged insurance slip, like clients who get a DUI. They're just going to be like, "Well, I needed something, so I."
This is the guy who bought his light from Camping World. Why is he going to go have $100 billion insurance policy?
Maybe he doesn't have anything. Maybe it's all duct tape and baling wire, and that's the whole company. What if there are no assets at all? Odds are very good.
It was a Mickey Mouse venture, all in all.
Very good for that.
Oh yeah.
They're incorporated in Washington State. I would assume there's some general business liability requirement for incorporation.
But you incorporate as an LLC.
There's not here in North Carolina.
The guy's dead. What do you do?
Wild and free.
There's nothing.
Oh wait, it's Washington State. They probably had a bunch of good drugs on that submarine.
Probably. Defund the police, man.
It was the world's fastest hotbox.
There was a homeless tent inside the sub.
Ooh.
Oh my god!
Even here,
don't be insensitive.
The least popular guy was the guy who had the beans before he.
About these jokes. I mean, this may be the first. I mean, the question is always, is it too soon? And even when I was saying, yeah, this guy crushed it. Why are you complaining? I mean, even that. This was like one of the first. Nick missed that one. But no, this may be one of the first disasters where is it too soon is not an option. The memes were coming in during
it happened. Yeah.
This was during it. The jokes were happening.
Somebody somehow managed to record and produce an entire song about the disaster called Underwater Fart Box. And I was just very impressed that they put it out so quickly.
God, you should look at my locals feed. Anyone who wants to join on structure.locals.com, the memes are flying in, like the propane tanks and the.
I love the one that David posted about all of the Titanic ghosts getting really excited that new people were going to be able to come and hang out with them. And so it was, like Bill Hader from SNL. I tweeted that and I thought it was hilarious, and 7 people unfollowed me. People are very sensitive about this for some reason.
Titanic kills and kills again.
It's this sanctimonious, and it's like I can have respect for the lives lost, but I can also have a dark sense of humor about it.
Yeah,
there is something a little
funny. You gotta understand that people are really, really invested in these European billionaires that they never met in their entire lives.
Who would spit on them if they saw them in the street?
They're really like just weeping openly over the loss of so much.
I was really mean to laugh. I'm so sorry. It was very insensitive of me.
I think this is actually the first time that a billionaire cut safety standards, and it was the billionaire themselves that died. Because usually, like,
that's genius.
God damn it, Ian.
Usually it's like you work for the billionaire and you get crushed to death in a factory because it was too expensive to put in a railing. So,
I've watched a lot of those videos. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't unsee that.
I mean, it is a tragedy that it happened so instantly because there was so many more interesting legal issues to explore.
And more excruciating.
It should have been.
The instant part of it was terrible.
It was because then we could have got into all of the the cannibalism part of it. Is it okay to murder someone to prolong your life? The Dudley Stevens issues.
I was imagining episodes of TV shows where they were going to go, like what were they thinking and what were they talking about? In their last moments of life, like so many episodes of shows that are not going to be made now, unfortunately. Sad.
No, because I know I've talked about one of my best friends on planet Earth was in the Navy, and he was on board the USS San Francisco when it hit a mountain underwater. And I was planning on having him on my stream on Monday to talk about what they might have been going through, but he said they couldn't clear, and he is still technically in the Navy until November. So, nice. That's beautiful. Wow. Yeah. So after November, when he retires, I'll be able to have him on to talk about it.
That's terrible and hilarious.
At the same time.
Have you guys seen the meme where it's Rose as the old lady holding the Logitech controller over the side of the boat?
All this could have been avoided if Leonardo DiCaprio would have pushed Kate Winslet off the damn thing.
Yeah. Have you seen the video that was? It's like.
Damn door with her. Oh, God.
They both could have fit. Right. I think there was a Mythbusters episode about that where they proved that they both could have fit on the door. Oh my God.
That's awesome.
That's all over my Discord.
Like POV, you're exploring the Titanic wreckage, and it shows here's a video of them approaching it, and then it's just controller has disconnected.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like your battery is low. You got one bar, and you're like, "Oh crap! I didn't bring my spare double A's."
Yeah.
How did they figure out that it imploded and that they should give up the search rather than that just
5 pieces or
something?
They
found wreckage. Yeah. They found the tail section and the front and the runners on the bottom.
Right next
I don't think you're going to find anything of the hull. It was made of carbon fiber. You're not going to find anything of the hull.
Styrofoam, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't think there are going to be remains either, are there?
Oh no, they were marinara sauce instantly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it was. Just put in 3 video monitors and a light from Camping World, and you've got it. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And you're going to see so many losses. But again, was there any? The main thing this is going to center around is, do they have any assets? First of all, that is going to be the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'm just wondering if they could go after the investors.
Right
or equity in those. It's really equity in the assets rather than assets.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, you can have like a triple mortgaged house. That's an asset, but there's zero equity.
Jeff, the one interesting thing that's going to come out of this is when the Coast Guard does their investigation of it. When they talk to the crew, that was. Yeah, I've seen have you seen the one where it's the George Floyd's face on the submarine underwater?
Don't say anything out loud, folks. Don't say anything out loud. Just enjoy the moment.
Soak it in.
That is savage.
He's trying to get to heaven. Stop that.
This is why we can't have nice things.
You guys are such a bad influence on
That
me.
was good. That was a good one.
I just don't want to go to hell. Stop putting those up.
Meme.
Sorry,
I'm
go ahead,
I feel
John.
like my ship has
Eric, you know
sailed.
the Little Mermaid meme with the submarine.
Yeah.
And she's like holding up pieces, the who's it's and what's it's aplenty.
No, look, and people in chat that are freaking out. I'll tell you, like lawyers and doctors have the worst senses of humor of anybody on planet Earth.
Or the best.
We just hear crap all day, every day.
Them and rapists, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Not worst, darkest. Okay. Oh, please put that in private chat so I can send that to everybody I know.
That's fantastic.
No, please, seriously, put that in private chat so I can
that's
copy
really
and
good.
paste that to everybody I know.
That's my favorite.
I think it's behind the paywall. These are all coming in from unstructured.locals.com. The chat is on fire in there. Oh my god!
Wow, that was good.
So what I thought was interesting about like exploring liability in this thing is how you actually get to any money. Because I'm gonna assume Ocean Gate is basically empty. So then you think, okay, maybe we can pierce corporate veil and go after the CEO's estate, because it kind of sounds like it's a one-man show. He makes all of the decisions about how this is done. He ignores safety standards, and so maybe he has personal liability. But then you remember that this guy's a billionaire, and does he even have, like, is his, or was it all dealt with in irrevocable trust? Like, how is it established?
Is he a billionaire, though? We don't even know that. We just know he's a hack putting together a sub. He tricks billionaires, but he could be the Elizabeth Holmes of the sea.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about investors. I thought he had investors as well. It wasn't just him.
He does.
And and so maybe those investors could actually be on the hot seat as well.
Well, I don't know. Piercing against investors is much harder if they're not actively involved in the operation.
Yeah, if they're not a listed director or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
But see, I mean, that's the thing, we don't know the insurance terms. We don't know the corporate structure.
So do you want to hit the lawsuit where they sued the guy who wrote the safety report for non-disclosure and other things? He countersued, and then that suit was settled, right? So he said, look, the porthole wasn't rated to awesome down to the depth of the Titanic. And he also said that the whole integrity system was real time, and they should be doing non-destructive testing when the hull was out between cycles, right? So apparently this thing had on it a system that would supposed to acoustically check itself while it was submerged. And he said, listen, if that goes off, you have only a half a second to a couple of seconds before this thing caves in. So they may have heard a buzzer go off because and try to eject ballast or something. So there may have been a slight alarm of, oh, this hull's about to break. Is that bad? And then lights out.
I don't think there would have been that much time.
When they're lit up, it's like beep, boom. It might be like that.
So that would make him like the captain of the Titanic, like sitting there, because he would be like probably the only one who would know. Like he hears that sound, and he's like,
he needs a deck chair on it to be rearranged.
I mean, I read about the real-time monitoring on their website, but it's very vague. So
hell yeah,
might be a lawsuit that.
Well, the lawsuit said that they had an acoustic system on board that was supposed to tell it if it was going to have a problem with the hull. His point was, you need to check that before you go into the water, not when you're 3,000 meters underneath it.
Was there
without a lifeline or any way to get it back?
At those pressures, I think even the slightest nick in the hull is going to just, I mean, I don't even think there was any indication ever that there was even the slightest possibility that anything was wrong.
Look, if Nick was in the hull, that would be
terrible.
If Nick was in the hole, that would be terrible.
My nose would have kept that sub afloat.
Exactly.
Yeah, but did they test run this thing?
The water?
Did they test it once, or is this the maiden voyage?
No, they've gone down a couple of times.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been tested now.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the thing is they were talking about how they were so technologically advanced that nobody could keep up with them. but they made the mistake of dropping all of the ships in the ocean have the classification societies, and they're essentially they're not insurers. They're the licensors, the qualifiers. They crawl all over every inch of the ship. They go through all of these testings and inspections. And if there's one thing off, you're not allowed to sail. They won't recertify you. But they're called classifications. And they dropped the name of DNVGL, which is Det Norsk Veritas and Germanischer Lloyd. They are one of the main classification societies. They said, we meet every standard they set. But then another group said, wait a minute, you haven't even been tested by these people. You're just spewing information. You're putting their name in your mouth, but you haven't gone through their testing. You have no grounds for saying that you meet their standards when you haven't submitted yourself to their standards. And that is absolutely true. This guy is just spewing BS as he goes along. And it's come back to bite him.
Elizabeth Holmes,
yeah,
what she did.
Well, the unfortunate thing, I think, is that there aren't really a lot of regulations for companies like this, are there?
No, there wouldn't be.
Jeff, is there any requirement international law? Is there any international or maritime law that requires them to meet a requirement before they go under? I don't see where there would be.
For this, it's understand the allure of any of these treks, or the Mars trek. It's not like you can step out and you're technically on Mars, like all these things. Or I don't understand.
There wasn't even a window.
Fascination with
imagine
being in a place.
Imagine being so poor like Joe that you don't want to just hang out with awesome rich people on Mars, the moon, under the ocean. Instead, you want to hang out with the rest of the normal people. Yeah, Joe, when you become like a really good lawyer, then you'll have enough money to understand why you would go to the bottom of the ocean and hang out in the Titanic.
Well, I mean, a lot of people go, well, this happened in international waters. There can't be any regulation. There's no law. I mean, that's just not true.
Well,
first of all, the people that were on that ship, they signed documents, whether it's ticketing with tourism, the waiver, whatever it is. You're guaranteed there's going to be a governing law and jurisdiction clause in there that says if there's any claims arising from this whatsoever, it's going to be in this court in this jurisdiction. That would have been there, but even if that's not there, every country has what we call a Conflicts of Laws Act of some sort, which says in this situation, these are the laws we apply. So you're going to be able to unravel that knot. But also,
Jeff, I was thinking, I didn't know Chandler with this. Like, it's not like somebody could come out there and stop them. Is more of the.
Well, I mean, that's the thing.
That was kind of what I was thinking.
This is a company that was incorporated in Washington. Right now, there's essentially nothing that regulated these random submersible units that want to go do really dumb things. But this accident has opened up the door for, say, Washington State or at the federal level to say, if you want to operate this type of a tourism industry, you must meet these standards. This is the old The Simpsons joke where that you have the lawnmower with the sticker on it that says, please do not put your face in the moving blades or whatever it is. See, because of me, now they have a warning. This is what this is. This is going to be the catalyst for the state or the federal government to step in and go, if you want to operate this kind of business lawfully from where you are, you must meet these standards.
Jeff,
which is silly, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Jeff, when they file a lawsuit, a wrongful death suit on this, the venue, that's got to be from the port of departure, or is that like?
Well, it'll be in the there's definitely somewhere in there going to be a governing law and jurisdiction clause in the paperwork they've signed. But if not, like in Korea, for example, it would be the place where the tort occurred, or if it occurred in the international waters, either the party that offered the services or the first port where everybody went after. It'll be easy to unravel, but it just depends whether or not there was a such a clause in any of the agreements they assigned, and if not, if it's in U.S. courts, the U.S. law will decide where it happens. It's easy to unravel.
I was really asking you as the lawyer here, like what would U.S. law say about this, assuming there is nothing in the contract that dictates venue?
I don't know what U.S. law. I know way more about Korean law than I do about U.S. law.
Brother. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. I'm
Nope.
sorry.
It's funny.
Just tell me the truth.
Jeff, what are you good for? You're not even a U.S. maritime lawyer. Why are you on this?
Yeah.
Joe's prediction of like,
No, the U.S. is really the weird outlier, and everybody else kind of conforms to all of these international conventions. All of the. But the U.S. is like, I'm not going to sign on to any convention. Sovereignty, mother effer. So we don't join these conventions.
Stupid rest of the world.
Yeah, pretty much.
What are you saying, Steve?
see, Joe's point that came to truth is like everybody's deferring to Jeff because he's the expert on this maritime law stuff.
Yeah, I am far too many bourbons into my nighttime. I'm far too many bourbons in my nighttime for any of that. I feel sorry for all of you this morning where all of you are.
Well, Dave looks like he's in a rescue boat right now. He's probably out there at the site, isn't it? You're afloat right now, aren't you, Dave? So you tell us. I'm jealous of this situation.
Yeah, I love doing streams from my boat. That's all.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, the funny part about this is, imagine when they called the Coast Guard and they said, the guy at the Coast Guard's like, wait, okay, hold on, wait. Yeah, I know the Titanic wrecked. Oh, there's another wreck there?
Yeah. And it's called what? The Titanic? What?
Yeah. Hold on. No, I know there's a wreck there. Wait, you guys went down there? How? In a submarine, like a nuclear submarine? No, one you built in your backyard. Oh.
All right, James Cameron, you think you're funny? No.
Oh no! If you look, just compare and contrast the ship that Cameron went down to all 5 of the deepest points in all 5 of the oceans, and this just cylinder with a joystick. It's night and day.
Hey, there were dual analog sticks, you jerk.
Yeah. Cameron submarine looks like a freaking starship.
My favorite part is Bluetooth. As if you're going to rely. No, he literally said, it's Bluetooth. I can throw it to anybody. And I'm going, how many times has your Bluetooth headphones lost connection with whatever you're doing? It's like, oh, hey, it's working great. All of a sudden, you're losing connection.
I'm just picturing like the 17-year-old being like, can I try this? And they hand it to him. And then suddenly it's the coffin dancers meme.
Well, I wonder.
Someone needs to put that submarine on those guns.
I wonder if his Bluetooth failed to sync.
Oh God! By the way, I've got a bunch of super chats in that I want to get through while we're sort of on point. We should talk about the Belgian Parliament talking about Nord Stream incident. Okay, I haven't seen that. Anyone seen that?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I do every day when I wake up is I check out what the Belgian Parliament is talking about.
I thought you were taking orders from Klaus Schwab, Nick.
We don't talk about it.
Anyway, Jim Satala, the sound of a submarine breaking up is distinct. Nothing else sounds like it. They knew immediately what it was. The SOSUS net runs test pass at sonar techs were yanking headphones off because of it. I don't know.
We have so many Navy sounding stations around the world that we hear everything that happens in the oceans.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Oh, misinformation. I'm not going into what it says.
It wasn't me.
Jared Fogel, the only other person worse than
that's bad. That's terrible.
That was worth $2.
Bravo. That was a good one.
Well done.
Bet government would be sending the company a bill.
Unlikely,
how were the other ones? That company's done for.
The U.S. Coast Guard actually has basically said they won't. They treat it as a normal search and rescue, and they do not bill people for doing that.
Oh,
I mean, and that's a very interesting thing because every other organization will. You get stuck on Mount McKinley or someplace, they're going to bill you for it.
Yeah, they have a law in Tucson where I grew up called this. Well, it's nicknamed the Stupid Motorist Law. It may actually be written in it. And in Arizona and Tucson, we have washes, which are just dried arroyos, and they're empty, except for when there's a rainstorm. And so there will be water in the bottom. And these idiots go, oh, I've got a pickup. I'll just drive across the water. And year after year after year, they're getting flipped in there. They're stuck in there. And so they finally said, you know what? We're charging you for rescue services.
Well, I mean, that's the cliches. They say never do anything where you can have a law named after you.
Someone should tell the U.S. Coast Guard that they don't bill around the Great Lakes because they bill here. If you get stuck on something and they tow you out, there was a guy who went down, sunk his boat hitting a wall right out in front of the harbor here, and they billed him.
Dude, you're on the ocean and you're frozen. I'm having concerns that we should send search and rescue for you.
Have you hit an iceberg,
okay?
David?
Flux,
I think he's frozen
love
because
you,
he's
Flux.
hit an iceberg.
If he's frozen,
Flux is
maybe
the best.
He is the iceberg.
He's
We
just
love
able to
Flux.
hold perfectly still. That's what impresses me.
Flux had a great super
Statue.
chat. We love Flux.
Yes, absolutely. Could have been a modern day of Gilligan's Island.
I was thinking because Hollywood's gonna like draft this. This should
Yeah.
have been the sequel to Ravenous. They bring the guys out. There's one guy left in the sub, and then it's Ravenous 2.
Okay, so somebody's saying that they found the front part with the window and the whole aft section of the pressure chamber.
No, it was the aft section and the runners underneath it.
But another guy came out and said what this guy's saying. I did hear this.
Oh, yeah, okay, I didn't hear this part. Right, whatever.
The first guy, Jeff, I heard say what you said. Then somebody else did say it. What the truth is, I don't know.
Money guarantee if not satisfied.
Doesn't matter. We know. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're gonna get a refund.
Nice, Nicholas.
Oh, so wow, everybody's popping in and out. Okay, let me remove this one and get that one.
Oh,
all right.
Welcome back, David.
And I actually have to jet, guys.
Oh,
hey, brother.
Because I only traveled by plane now that subs aren't safe.
Oh,
man.
Thanks for having me. See you guys next time.
Thank you,
Nick.
sir.
See you, Nick.
Love you, brother.
All right. Little Rock, who's a longtime fan. Don't go into conflicts of law. That course gave me a headache in law school. I studied international law because I had been a Russian linguist in the 80s. Money for Henley. Haven't caught live in a while. Well, good to have you, man.
That's what I do. Half of what I do is just unraveling conflicts of law. It's fun. It's exciting. It's nerddom.
God, I could believe that. The window was rated for only 1/3 the depth they went.
Yeah, that was part of the lawsuit. Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it because if he plays fast and loose, anytime something is rated, it actually can withstand probably double or triple something. But these are the people who cut corners. They're like, oh, it can handle a lot more than a straight rated port. It's like a sell by date. It's more of a guideline than a
There was an engineer that raised that red flag and pointed that out and got fired.
Oh, lovely. Well, personal insurance.
Everyone knows the empty on these meters is always overrated.
Life insurance might not pay out on that stuff when they find out everything.
Oh, I just like most life insurance has a clause that says if you do something extremely stupid, we won't pay you. And usually that means that you have to get separate coverage for skydiving or separate coverage for whatever. I don't think there's anybody who's going to cover you for we want to go in an untested, submarine.
Yeah,
that's a good point. The question on is, Ian, what you just said about the insurance doesn't cover stupidity. So the fact if he had insurance could be irrelevant. If he cut every corner, they might be like, "Oh, screw that. We're not covering you," because
you've got to look at two separate things. Their personal insurance, if they have like personal life insurance, it's not going to cover this kind of crap but if you're looking at the company's insurance, insurance companies, they don't want to pay out billions of dollars. And if you failed, you have an absolute duty of good faith to report everything that an insurer would need to consider in order to issue your policy. If you've fudged on one single fact that was in some way related to what happened, they will deny your coverage.
I'm surprised by what you're saying legally. I'll tell you, because it's considered recklessly stupid for someone to trust a company that advocates that proclaims that they have the capacity to do this, and that's considered so stupidly risky that you would sacrifice your life insurance for not vetting it out better.
Personal life insurance will bounce you for anything they consider highly risky, like skydiving, skiing outside of bounds. There's all sorts of activities which you might think aren't that daring, that they'll say, nope, sorry, you engaged in an ultra hazardous activity. Like I do fireworks. I don't actually know if they'll cover me if I get blown up on the fireworks.
You should find that out, Ian.
I should, because Canada Day is coming up. So
really
that's
quickly,
actually like next week. I got to go play with explosives.
Sorry to interrupt flow, but I got to address this. Somebody pointed out that I missed the super chat. There's a system in StreamYard called auto starring, which helps me by pulling the super chats.
So good.
Problem is, it doesn't always get them. I don't remember seeing the super chat right here. Damn. So I do the best I can. I've got the tools that are there, and I apologize ahead of time if I do miss any. I also apologize if I don't always read them out loud, but go for it.
You know, a waiver doesn't use a waiver means you're waiving your right to go after them, not that you're actually giving up your own out of your own pocket. So that doesn't really fit from a legal perspective for that to be incorporated into a waiver.
You could also argue that's highly unconscionable anyway to do something like that.
When you
that
can't sign a waiver against negligence.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was no disclosures as far as the actual design flaws.
But no, the point being that a waiver is designed to say, I'm not going to go after you, not that it's opening up that you can come after me and take it into my pocket.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really inconsistent with the concept of a waiver.
Well, and that's why I say you assume the risk if you sit on the foul line at Yankee Stadium where there's no nets and you catch a line drive to the face. You've assumed the risk of attending an inherently dangerous sport. You're not going to be able to claim for that. But like I said, if one of the players walks up and says, "Hey, I don't like the cut of your jib," and smashes you in the face with a baseball bat, that's different. That's not a normal risk associated with behavior.
A better example would be the skydiving example. So if you go on site, you sign a waiver skydiving, right? And you go skydiving, but then the guy gives you a parachute that is inherently designed will not deploy.
It's just an anvil in there.
Then it's like, and you hit the ground like a rock because the thing was designed. It's like, well, wait a second. When I go skydiving, I assume that the parachute you're giving me is functional, right? That's not part of the risk you're assuming. So in this case, they go on a submarine. Well, yeah, there's inherent risk in submarine, but the fact is you have a inherently, explosive submarine. It's not going to be covered, right?
Well, I have a question. I'm curious. So, I mean, it seems like this is an industry, right? There are probably other companies that do ventures like this. I would imagine perhaps maybe in more of a legally sound and safe way. How would a waiver like that be designed? Because if you are signing a waiver that says that you assume the liability of risk, how can that factor into prevention of family members perhaps going after that company for wrongful death? Can they include something like that in the waiver? And would that be legally sound?
If, as far as families suing for wrongful death, so
like
so
you
you're
can
saying
bind your
that waiver
heirs.
Yeah,
you can bind your heirs in a waiver.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Heirs and assigns. In other words,
Bind your heirs.
I'll let David go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like you could say that I'm waiving any liability on behalf of this company if I get injured or in any way, shape, or form, and it binds my heirs and devisees and whatever going forward. So the state also is the same.
Okay.
Yeah, James Cameron's releasing a new movie called Titanic 2 Submarine Boogaloo.
James Cameron, he did an interview about this too, and he was like, yeah, there was all kinds of bad things with this.
You remember Electric Boogaloo?
No.
See, nobody remembers that, right? See, maybe I'm getting too old for the panel.
You're muted,
muted, Eric.
Steve sent me a counterclaim lawsuit that I'm going to bring up here, and Steve's going to have to tell me what he's wanting us to see.
Can you take it to page 11?
I am.
I was also trying to send it to Jeff, and
that is, I think, page 11.
Yeah, it says 11.
All right, so let me get down to that, and Jeff, I'll finish sending this email in a second. Yep. If you look at that, paragraph 16. Lockridge is the safety guy they canned, and this is his counterclaim against the company. And he says he expressed concern to them, and he put it in writing, that the system was problematic because their real-time acoustic analysis would only show when a component is about to fail milliseconds before an implosion. And they were not doing testing when the thing was out of the water. And then down at the bottom of that in paragraph 19 is what Ian mentioned, which is the port was built to a certified pressure of 1,300 meters. Ocean Gate intended to take them to 4,000. And then if you continue on that paragraph, it says Ocean Gate did not want to pay to have it certified to test it or to make it into a 4,000 meter spec. So pretty horrible things here. In paragraph 20, it says paying passengers would not be aware and would not be informed of this experimental design, the lack of non-destructive testing of the hull, and other things. And then this lawsuit settled, but there was these safety concerns appear to be material to what happened.
Woo. Yeah. You guys have no idea how happy I am that finally there's something happened that I can talk authoritatively about. I've like waited 30 years for a case like this.
If they just departed from Korea, we'd be perfect right now.
It's you and Andrew's year. What is it, Korea? You guys get all the cases handed to you?
Yeah.
But Vice can't talk about the Korean disasters because of all the cultural things.
Yeah. Like the Sewell Ferry disaster from a few years ago. Can't talk about that because
So that shows clear negligence. I mean, that's overt.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Somebody had written in or had emailed me, and I don't know if anybody has looked at it or not. Has anybody covered the cell phone case?
Cell phone case.
The cell phone case.
This is the. Hold on. Let me get that.
There's always cell phones involved in something.
Throwing a phone.
No. This is an interesting case because it involves a TikTok fad.
Oh, okay, yeah, this case. All right.
And
it's not a case yet.
During a Manhattan concert,
I did see this. Yes,
tonight, his attorney said that he did it because of a social media trend. CBS 2's Lisa Rosner was in the courtroom and asked him what happened.
Is there anything you want people to know? 27-year-old Nicholas Malvagna was silent Monday as he left Manhattan criminal court, released on his own recognizance.
Yeah.
He's facing charges of assault and harassment for allegedly throwing a phone at singer Bibi Rexha during her concert Sunday night at Pier 17 in the South Street Seaport. Monday, the singer, a Brooklyn native, posted on TikTok.
I'm good, yeah, I'm feeling all right.
On Instagram, she shared photos of her freshly bruised left eye and a cut near her eyebrow, which required stitches. The criminal complaint says she told an officer she was in substantial pain afterward. The judge issued an order of protection against Malvagna, a Manalapan, New Jersey resident. His lawyer, Todd Spodek.
Why was the phone thrown?
I think this is a common, unfortunate trend that's going on that a lot of concert goers do. I don't think he had any intention whatsoever to hurt the singer.
In court, Spodek said Malvagna told an officer this was part of a TikTok trend where a phone is thrown on stage.
Yeah, but before this, he had said he thought it would be funny to see if he could hit her with it.
According to his friend, I believe. Yeah.
Takes a selfie
I still
and
don't
then
get
gives
the
it
idea.
Back.
It's drunken douchebaggery. That's all it is.
Yeah. Wasn't throwing it up there for take a selfie.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious what you think. And by the way, that wound that close to it, oh God, it's going to be really ugly day or two later.
It's not going to be worth her time. It's not going to get prosecuted.
For the TikTok material,
I have
if he was recording as he threw the phone and as it hit her, that would be like an ultimate TikTok.
Right. No, it's the idea that you throw your phone on stage and then the celebrity takes a picture on it and then tosses it back. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Apparently, allegedly.
Well, then I say it's negligent. It doesn't rise to the level of criminal.
Tell Bibi get better.
I don't know if you can prove.
But his initial statement was he thought it would be funny to see if he could hit her from that far away.
Well,
that was his initial
statement. Keep your mouth shut.
But
then he got a lawyer, and his lawyer said, "No, say it was a TikTok thing."
Yeah.
I heard it was his friend. He told it to, not the cops.
And
and his friend is going to show up at trial and is going to not want to back out of the statement he made to the cops.
Yeah.
So
he made that statement like dudes at a golf course. Like, do you think I can hit that goose sitting over there? No, there's no way you're going to hit it. It's like, all of a sudden you drill it and kill it.
We went on a camping trip with a friend who did that with a pelican in Yellowstone. He's like, "You think I can hit this?" And he's like, "Bam!" He like blasted this pelican with a rock. It sucked. Don't do dumb things, people. Then you won't have to worry about if it's civil or criminal.
Well, at least the pelican's family wasn't able to sue.
Oh, God.
Wow, dark.
So, I mean, what do you think about all these TikTok trends and things that are going on with that?
I actually suspect we're going to start seeing judges go, "Oh, you did it for a TikTok video. That's like sentence plus. Like, we're going to add to your sentence just because now we really need to discourage you and everyone else." Like that.
So the judge might make an example.
Yeah, it screams example, not like cut loose. So
that's assuming that we're still living in a world where the judiciary believes in accountability, which I question after this week's events. But Yeah.
All right. Well, since nobody cares about this one, this is the case that keeps on giving, on and on and on. Hannah Gutierrez has a new charge being levied.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's talk about it.
So, I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts. Also, the fact that the chief investigator for the state called it, I think, colloquially, a shit show of an investigation. He didn't say that, but that's essentially what he said. It would take that 200 agents couldn't undo the shoddy work that the Santa Fe Sheriff's Department did. Let me see.
Hey, Eric. I don't mean to cut everybody short, but I have to get going, so I will see you guys around.
Okay.
Hey, Sean. Love you, brother.
Man.
Take care,
See you,
Sean.
Sean.
See you soon. See you soon, man.
Let me see.
Yeah, I'm going to be going over this one soon because I've been covering the Rust stuff, and what we're seeing so far is just shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of sort of gun coverage, and I've talked to a number of armorers, and everybody just loses their mind on this one because it's so messed up.
You're saying how many wrongs were committed in?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, these drug things are something that's been going on since the very initial investigations, where she said, "Oh yeah, we were all smoking weed the night before, and we were." This is something that's been known. And they only decided to charge her after they couldn't charge Baldwin, after they dropped all the charges against Baldwin.
This is that pisses me off too. But
yeah, we've got to do something, so we're going to pile on top of this little girl here.
I don't understand the motivation for this.
I mean, the thing is, both of them should be facing charges.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason.
Yeah.
Just because Baldwin is skating doesn't mean she should not face charges, because what she was up to is monstrous. Baldwin should also be eating charges, in my view.
Yes, exactly.
This whole notion of he was just the actor is like, no, that is complete crap. The instant you take a gun, no matter what your role is, you have a safety obligation. You've got a safety duty to not murder people, like to not shoot them in the face.
And he was the last person. The last person to have stopped the pointing a gun at someone and pulling the trigger.
I have had people people who are way better shooters than me hand me a gun. They're like, it's unloaded. What's the first thing I do is I check it again, and never, not once, has any of them gone, seriously, dude? They're all like, yep, that is exactly what you do. Baldwin's thing about like, oh, I don't check it again because they'll get upset. If your armor gets upset that you then you have a bad armor.
This is the problem.
All you have to do is watch the difference between the Jensen Ackles interview and the Alec Baldwin interview. Which is, I don't care who gives me this gun. I am dry firing 6 shots into the dirt, and I'm checking it myself. I don't care.
I don't like the dry firing thing.
Yeah, that's bad form too. So,
but
here's the thing. Here's the thing, though.
It be shown,
Ian,
to be clear.
Yeah.
Ian, you don't have the reputation for having concern for your underlings the way that Alec Baldwin does, where he never wants to risk offending anybody who he deems to be.
That's true. That's true.
So perhaps if you're Alec
unforeseen consequences of the woke culture.
I mean, I was just going to say this is the problem when you get a bunch of California people shooting guns, like LA people. They don't know anything about guns. They don't know anything about gun safety. They don't have any training, any consequences. I mean, there's gun culture in California, but not in Los Angeles.
Do you know what Alec Baldwin's father did? Do you know what his father did?
Wasn't he
died from doing what
he was the coach for the rifle team at Alec Baldwin's high school.
And he literally died from complications of breathing
lead poisoning
dust for freaking ever as a
thing
result
is-
of being a shooting coach.
And if you watch Alec Baldwin's police interview, and this is the problem with it. One second he's very polite and he doesn't know anything, and the next second he's breaking down the entire mechanical process to the little lady. And I'm saying that deliberately because he kind of was treating it like, oh, I've got these 2 women that are talking to, and you've got to do this, and you got to. And you have to have this. You really should watch that interview. It is very interesting. His knowledge levels, depending on the moment, are extremely high or, he's not an expert.
It's because he can't keep track of what he's lying about. But the other thing is, I've got a video where I brought somebody who'd never fired a gun before to the range with a mix, like the worst case scenario of a loose mix of live ammo and film dummies. And you can hear it rattle. and they were able, blindfolded, to distinguish enough to not kill somebody on. Like, if a person with zero information who just paid a little bit of attention to a 5-minute explanation cannot kill somebody, the standard here is so low. You know, children could do this successfully, and Baldwin can't somehow. It's because he was on his phone during the whole explanation. It's ridiculous.
My biggest problem with this is I think, I don't even know if you need to read between the lines. I think it's clear that money was the reason why they dismissed the charges against Baldwin, that the prosecutor's office could not afford, or for whatever reason didn't want to shell out the money to launch the prosecution of him, because he would have the funds to thoroughly defend himself. And that's just sort of an example of the problem with our system right now. And that's why this woman is going down for it, because she doesn't have the money to launch the defense.
And in my opinion, he was far more responsible because he was a producer. And when you are a producer, you have a responsibility towards all of the people on the production to ensure their safety, both legally and otherwise.
And he's the guy that pulled the trigger too.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing. He pulled the trigger.
I know that that's the big thing, and I understand that. I just think that he has that double duty, essentially. Being a producer, he set the whole thing up. He hired Hannah Gutierrez Reed. He was responsible for being aware of her qualifications or lack thereof, her ability to, you know, take care of this and be in charge of this. And he also didn't really pay her enough, apparently, for this job, to the point where she also had to get a second job on set. So everybody was stretched thin. Everybody was cutting corners.
That wasn't that she wasn't paid enough. It's that they were like,
oh, no?
We don't want to hire a second person. She's getting paid just fine. It was just an issue of, like, it isn't that she needed a second job. It's that they wanted her to do other things.
I see.
And
she needed a second job, Ian, because she only had X days that could cover for the armor job.
That was what I had heard from Eric.
She was cheaper than the entire, contract, so that could keep her on the set for the rest of the time. So they were being cheap as hell with her. Number two, we have a problem, and Chandler, you're deeper into Hollywood, it appears, than a lot of us, but there's the issue of the named credit producer and the working credit producer of, an actor gets on there and they automatically get a producer credit or executive producer credit.
Executive producer.
On what they are. And it is, I think that's a problem in the system, because Baldwin is claiming, I'm not going to say it is or not, that he's a name producer or a producer credit, not a producer actual dude. And there is, specific producers who are on the set. And then you have the Gabby Pickle, who I totally agree with you on, who was the line producer. And again, as I said last week or the week before, whatever, everybody's forgetting one major person who's kind of slid on the side because he took a gunshot. And that's Joel Souza.
Yep.
That guy should be questioned and under fire. It was his movie, his set. He is the director.
You made a very good point there. I agree with you. I completely agree. I think, directors and producers have a lot of responsibility on set. I would say that the director has the majority of responsibility, but producers do have a significant responsibility. You are an executive producer if you contribute money and you don't really have anything to do with the film. I believe that Alec had a little bit more responsibility than that, but I have to look into his exact role. We would have to look into exactly what he was responsible for on set. Regardless, I think that you made an excellent point last week. Because of his injury, Souza was not really pursued, and I think that he should have been. I really like that point that you made, and I'm glad you're bringing it up.
I don't think it would be surprising if Alec was thrown on there as a named producer in order to boost the movies, the sales on the movie. Because, let's face it, it's a no-name. Aside from Alec Baldwin, it's a no-name production. So
he threw money into it, obviously.
Well, his money thrown into it is a salary. He only took like $200,000. Okay, this is the guy who could pull $2 million. Flat.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely low budget.
That's a bargain. So he kind of threw money in just by saying, I'll work on the cheap and maybe get something in the back end.
And would it surprise anybody if he was put on there as a producer solely to help boost the movie rather than him actually being involved in any sort of oversight?
No,
I
but
put
the thing is,
no weight on him being a producer. Like, I think that
Baldwin?
you can get, I think you can get to a conviction easily just based on he's holding the gun.
I'm sorry. Look at these civil complaints, the civil lawsuits. They mark him specifically only as an investor producer. He had no say in the hiring and firing of people. It was only for the financial side of things.
He might have had a little bit of a say, though, because he did say in an interview, I think it was with Stephanopoulos, about the DP. And they said, hey, we're looking at Helena Hutchins as a TP. He goes, oh, I don't know her. Is she any good? Yeah, she's good. Okay. So I don't know. I would have to watch that if he actually had a veto power or not, or whether, it was just
if he was making decisions, if he was in charge of things. So Jeff, you make a good point. I'd like to look into whether he did have any role.
If you look at his indemnification clauses, they were genius. He has zero financial personal liability for anything that happens.
Okay.
His company covers his liability, and then the main producers cover his company's liability. He is not going to pay a damn dime out of this ever.
Well, that's true. Yeah. That I definitely agree with.
Well, he already has.
He settled the lawsuit.
Yeah, but it didn't come out of his pocket. It came out of his company's pocket, which then he's claiming against the main producer under the indemnification clauses, and then that'll get settled out by the main producer's insurance company, and he's going to walk away without.
Maybe he moved a lot of real estate around before the Hutchins payoff and things. So I don't know.
I have a question for Runkle. So we're assuming. Well, first of all, we're assuming the fact that you can be mistaken. Mistaken fact is a defense in a criminal case, not mistaken law, but mistaken fact. The quintessential example is you go to the valet, you give him the ticket, he gives you the keys to the wrong car that's exactly yours, you drive it off. You're not necessarily committing grand theft auto. It's a mistaken fact. So can Alec rely on mistaken fact in that I was told that these were dummy rounds, blanks, or whatever, or that it was unloaded? Can he rely on that in this scenario?
I think that there's normally an obligation to put, this is a situation where you have an obligation to do further checking. This isn't like the valet handing you something. This is more, and by their own standards, by their standards, he is part of that safety chain. So this is, if you've got a two-man testing on something, and it's intentionally two-man testing because everyone's got a responsibility. I don't think that this is a situation where you can say I delegated the responsibility. I took, I took their word for it. When you have an obligation to do independent checking beyond that, this is not just an innocent mistake. This is a situation where you've got an actual burden to check things.
Here's the problem. Where do you come up with him having that obligation? Because it's not the SAG guidelines.
That's what I was wondering.
It's in the SAG guidelines.
No. Not
two-man check?
No.
I'm sorry.
Dave Halls was in that. I mean, go pull them up. But yeah, technically a first AD is the ultimate safety officer on the set, who is the only one right now who has actually been convicted. But I do think that the guidelines and everything else are not completely clear, and that is a problem.
So that might be a valid defense for him.
I think you might have a point, Dave.
I'm sorry, the SAG guidelines are we talking about SAG-AFTRA?
Yeah, the SAG safety guidelines for
it would be SAG-AFTRA would be they merged. Wait, so the question about the SAG guidelines was what exactly?
About what Baldwin's actual responsibility is, because in the guidelines, which I pulled up, and I know I mentioned to Steve, and he was surprised by what he found when he did. It's very clear that the first AD is the safety officer and the one who dictates and says, this is this and this. And by the way, he claimed that he did not physically see every round. He said, show it to me. She did half of them. He accepted it. And that in the police interview, he also said, I should have checked. So there's a responsibility there. But I don't know in the guideline, other than general safety is everybody's responsibility on the set, which is a little bit more wiggle room than the specificity of being the safety officer. And
Well, when I read it, I took it to say, because it said something in about, remember, if you point this gun at somebody, it can kill them, and also there's a special procedure for if you're actually going to point it at somebody. But as other people have said before, those guidelines, to Dave's point, they're helpful in a defense because you're trying to show whether he was negligent or not, but they're not dispositive of it. Right? They don't control whether the jury can find him negligent or not. It's just some evidence of whether you're meeting the standard of care or not. And he shouldn't have done what he did, in my opinion.
The union guidelines are, they're a direction to go in, but they don't change the law about the way. But
this is crazy because the whole principle is Hollywood is kind of going away from the law. If you point a gun at anybody in any other circumstance anywhere in this country, I believe your ass would be hemmed up. Correct? This is Hollywood, though. This is almost like an industry exception because of what they're doing. And all I'm saying is I don't think it's 100% clear. I'm a dumb civilian, though, not a lawyer. And I'm just sitting there looking at it, I'm like, it's not absolutely clear because, again, we're in make-believe land here. And we've kind of, as a society or a culture, accepted that they are going to be pointing guns at each other.
Right.
Correct?
The thing is that normally you're not. Normally they don't point guns at each other. That actually requires additional stuff.
Exactly.
Normally, if you actually get good at watching this, you can spot it in scenes where they'll have two people.
Yeah, they cheat the shot.
They appear to be pointing guns directly at each other's faces, and they're actually standing like 2 feet apart.
Yeah.
If you're actually if you're actually pointing a gun at somebody, that's an unusual situation.
Unless you're Binger. But,
oh God! Everything about this situation is unusual, though. I mean, again,
certainly
she should not have been standing there because Video Village was down. Video Village was down, so then now she's suddenly by the camera.
Yeah.
If Video Village was up, it'd be Lane Looper, and he's probably like, "Oh, thank God I quit that morning." But he would have been there as the focus puller. The camera crew, they're waiting for them to come in. Everything. This is one of those. Every damn possible thing broke down. In the worst way, safety, sleep. I mean, we can go on.
And why did it? Because it was set up that way, because every single person who was involved in the production and the direction of that film cut corners, made these decisions on the basis of saving money. They were careless. They acted with wanton disregard for the safety of everybody on set. And I believe very strongly that, the first AD, yes, is responsible. The safety officer is responsible. If he was only a named producer, I could see him having reduced responsibility. I did not know that, and so that does change some things. But he put money into the film, and I'm sure that he was involved in discussions about how the film would go forward, where they would be shooting. I can't imagine that he was completely divorced from those conversations as a producer. He would have had a lot of say in specific aspects of the way that the film was put together, the way that it was shot, the location, and the setup. And I'm certain that there were conversations that he was responsible for where they created an environment that led to this disaster.
Are we talking about criminal or civil liability here?
Well, and to go full circle, this kind of all leads back to these additional charges against, Hannah Gutierrez Reed for this is something's been known from day one. In her initial police investigation, she was saying that they were smoking. Everybody was smoking weed the night before. Everybody was doing all these things, but it didn't affect her judgment. And,
I don't remember her ever saying that. Did it? I don't remember her saying she smoked weed. I remember there were texts about people saying that she smoked weed, that she went over to a concert, got out of hand, but not her herself saying,
somebody said it in a police investigation.
It was Sarah Zachary. I believe,
maybe it was Sarah.
When they were talking about texts, there's texts. And by the way, as if we don't have enough people on this panel, I have Seth Kinney right now texting me about what's going on here. And Seth Kinney is he won't come on camera. He's a coward. But he is texting me, and he's just
pointed out he's got nothing to worry about.
He is probably going to be called to the stand or testifying, I think he's probably wise. I don't know for sure. Seth is saying that that's bullshit. Not only do we point guns directly at people, sometimes they gun in mouths. Think Fight Club or Walking Dead.
Yep. But you got to be careful with it. And Baldwin, I think, can't rely on I did all the safety stuff. because he was literally on his phone, not just playing Candy Crush, but he was talking to people, saying like, I was just following the safety rules. Doesn't work if you're, and no, I agree that they do point guns at each other. They just try to avoid it.
Right.
And this is a situation where they didn't have to, and yet they were, where they were careless about what they were doing, where they'd had, what was it, 2 negligent discharges on that set?
Well,
I'm sorry.
Yes, I agree. And I'll to support your point on that, Ian, I think the question could be asked, would he have been more thoughtful if he had to point the gun to his own head? And
yeah,
a lot of people, they ask that question. It's like, okay, so rather than the ground or whatever else, you're going to hold it to your head first, then you do the rest of the scene.
If we weren't,
with everybody check it.
If we weren't doing a live stream, I could show you exactly how it, went down, because I went and bought the same make and model of firearm, just to
flex.
Well, I just wanted to check, but the thing is that you actually, the problem that you have is that if your finger is on that trigger, it's a fairly light trigger, and what ends up happening if you're not used to having trigger discipline, if you put your finger on that trigger and you pull back the hammer, what tends to happen is that the action of pulling back the hammer, it takes a little bit of thumb strength.
Yeah, you gotta
and you grip your hand in, and you don't realize that your finger is applying that little bit of pressure, that when you let go of the hammer, it's gonna fire. And you can see there's that little tiny video clip where you can see his finger on the trigger.
Yep.
Yeah, all of the preliminary stuff. Yeah.
I'm just going to say that if it wasn't Alec Baldwin, whoever pulled the trigger would have been charged as well. And that's the problem I have.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be intercoursed if it was you. It would be totally intercoursed.
Yep.
He was charged. The thing is that Alec Baldwin has good counsel, who have been making things absolutely miserable for the prosecution, and have actually been pointing out the various places where the prosecution have been themselves cutting corners.
Oh, yeah.
And
good
because
counsel.
he gets
amazing counsel.
Oh, I mean, his counsel, I initially was like, okay, where'd they find this guy? It doesn't look like he's a criminal special. He's been rocking this, and he's been dunking on them over and over and over again in the media. I think they're just like, we want this to stop. We want to go after the person. We want to get a conviction on this.
Yeah.
Gutierrez Reed will be enough. And she should be on the hook for this.
When they got Halls too, so they could say that they got the chain.
Yeah. And see, and that's the thing that I find sad is Dave Halls, he seems to be the dumbest one in the whole group. He pled out. He was found guilty when they're just dropping charges left and right against everybody.
Did you watch his police interview?
Yeah.
That dude was eaten up. Out of everybody, there was no bragging, no bravado, nothing. Because I there was rumors about him and other sets or whatever. When I watched his police interview, I was like, this is the only MFer who was standing up and right there in the interview, just owning that he fucked up. Excuse my language. He actually, out of all of them, I felt for the guy. He's owning it. I think he was happy to plead to get something because the guilt and the shame, I'm telling you, every bit of that interview is like, whoa, this is not like other interviews I've seen, if you will.
But I mean, he actually, his deal is a fairly light deal.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't able to avoid a criminal record, but he avoids going to jail, which is kind of that's a great outcome when you're talking about
his career's ended too. And I mean, he I don't know. I feel like his is just in the sense that he's done. He's never going to work film again. Everything he's done, he's got a whole career that's gone. I do feel that he could maybe sleep at night though, because again, that interview is very striking.
Well, Mrs. Southern-in-law has a good point here. He would have, if he knows how to safely handle a gun, but then again, he would be the dumbest Baldwin to put a gun to his own temple. Exactly. I mean, that's the test that I think you have to ask these people. Okay, Mr. Alec Baldwin, if you're so convinced, someone hands you a gun and says, "Don't worry, this is a cold gun." Would you point this gun at the head of one of your children and pull the trigger without checking it? He would say no. no rational person would go, someone told me this was okay to point at my child's head, so I'm going to do it. You would check it. Why is it any different?
Yeah. And the thing is, and this is a really important distinction, because I know you're going to get texts on this as well. He shouldn't be checking this unilaterally. Like, he shouldn't be fiddling with the gun once, but when he's accepting the gun from whoever's handing it to him, they should be checking it with him. They should be showing him there that it's unloaded. Not like you fiddle with it once you have it, you don't mess with it. But
trust me on this.
Yeah.
Seth doesn't have high praise for Hannah. Okay. Do you know where all those texts came from? I saw them way back when. No, he's very clear on, what went down with the scenario. And by the way, he's another person who he broke all of your rules. Seth Kinney, and I've talked to him about it in person going, you're nuts. He was wide open with the cops. As soon as they sat there in the room, he told them anything, everything, all they could ever want to know, which I still think is bonkers. And I know he's listening, but believe me, he's not one who's saying, oh yeah, Hannah's a great person, getting hemmed up. He's told me since day one, essentially, Hannah's screwed.
Well, and Seth, if you want to give me grief over, anything I've said, shoot me an email, runkleofthebailey@gmail.com. I'm happy to chat with you, but I've spoken to a number. Like, you're right about the pointing the thing. It's just in this circumstance, it shouldn't have been pointed directly at a person. There should be shields. There should be all of that.
And they can do whatever they want, but if you go pointing a gun at somebody's head, pull the trigger, and a bullet comes out and kills the person, don't be surprised if you find yourself in front of a jury. I don't care what guidelines you write yourself up for in your own union group. You could find yourself in front of a jury, unless you're in New Mexico and you have a weird prosecution team and you're Alec Baldwin with great lawyers.
Well, and in Canada, I can tell you the legal test on this gets real simple, because the case law collapses a lot of all of this and says basically you don't get in any circumstance to point to someone else.
He may be emailing you, Ian. So
that'd be awesome. I'm happy to talk to him. But like in Canada, the rules are basically you don't get to rely on an armorer. You don't get to any of that. It's just.
Well, I'm going to circle back. There's one more thing, and I've been harping on it. Like I say, the director. The other thing I've been harping on is where the hell did the live rounds come from? It has come to my attention again now, because I've been saying that I've not found anything, and apparently the detectives haven't found anyone who would claim it. But I'm starting to hear from at least one source, and I can't say who, that yes, in fact, there was plinking on the set before call time on at least one day. And again, I can't share, I can't say the source, but it is someone who was there on the film and directly involved. So it's very,
all right.
It's a good source. And I have to kind of eat my words, because I've been trying to be very clear, or maybe eat my words, because again, I don't know for sure, but I have heard that plinking did occur. If that's the case, and if it can be tied to the live ammo from that, then now I think we had a whole nother situation, and I don't have the problems with the charges. Sorry.
That was a detail that I disregarded because it just seemed so outlandish. Like I was like, oh yeah, this is the rumor, is plinking was occurring on set, but that's a rumor along the lines of like, hey, at this law firm they were, literally doing cocaine off the backs of small children, is kind of the level of.
You don't do that where you work?
Oh, Ian, one thing Seth said to let you know that they don't have shields strong enough to help with live ammo.
Yeah, I mean, there shouldn't have been live ammo should not have been on the set.
Never.
I mean, if you take out live ammo, the entire thing goes away.
People actually what is plinking? They're saying they were actually shooting live ammunition on stream. That's what
right. Plinking is shooting cans.
If you're shooting, still have been a big issue.
If you're shooting blanks near somebody, you still got gas coming out of that gun. You don't want hitting you in the face either.
Right, so, but as long as you have the distance, you're okay. And I agree. That's the Eric Hexum. John Eric Hexum died because of the gas in the blank. Totally agree.
That was the thing, like Brandon Herrera has said several times on his stream, is if you're firing blanks and there's nothing between you and the discharge, whatever is next in line after the discharge becomes the projectile, whether it's your skull or whatever it is. That's what becomes the projectile.
Yeah, or the Brandon Lee Crow scenario, it happened to be a round that got hit by a blank that went into him, so that was the next thing down the line.
And that one was such a freak incident. It's not really comparable just because it's so unusual.
But similar circumstances beg comparison. Just like the
I'm not
Twilight
trying
Zone
to
movie.
compare.
And,
it's just there's only 3. We have 3 shootings to choose from.
Right.
It's
extremely rare.
But that shows you how safe and how, I mean, that is actually the dispositive here. That shows you how safe this industry is.
Yes.
How meticulous and careful they are. That in the last 30 years, there's been 3 incidents.
Now, I'm curious,
this is also,
40 years, I think.
I was just going to ask, did the incident with Crow? Yes, Jeff. On the Crow set, was that filmed in Los Angeles or was that filmed outside of Los Angeles?
I don't know.
Because I've noticed, so we have accidents that occur on film sets. Generally speaking, I've noticed that they're, like just the comparison between the Sarah Jones incident and this particular incident, you go to another state to film there because the regulations are more lax. And I feel like that is a theme.
Taxes too.
Yeah, but there is a theme with that. And I think that there's a lot of safety in the industry and a lot of safety jurisdictionally as far as the laws are written for the entertainment industry. It's extreme. I mean, it's you don't want a lawsuit. People are very litigious. And it is a very safe industry. Absolutely. This is extremely rare. I want to know who brought the live round onto the set in the first place.
Well, and that's where we're going.
Because that person should be charged.
If there's plinking going on, and whoever was involved with that, and that's how the live rounds got there. Yes, we've got and that circles back to everything. Really.
Sorry to interrupt you, by the way.
No worries.
Sorry. If you take away the live rounds, as somebody pointed out, yes, blanks are live rounds, but we're talking about live rounds in terms of
projectiles,
not with a projectile. Anyway, those should never be on set ever. Anyway, anyhow, there's no condition that I know of.
Incredibly narrow exceptions. Those exceptions are things like if you're filming Mythbusters.
Yeah, I was going to say, but that would be, everybody's off and it's literally laid out. It's
But like, I talked to an armorer who does some of that stuff, and he says basically they literally go and like take one cartridge out of a massive lock thing and move it, and it's that one live cartridge that they put in, fire, and then they're like, okay, we've got the shot. Live cartridges are gone because it's like that's like nuclear waste. And there was no reason. Quite frankly, everyone who had everyone who knew about plinking on a set like this should never work in the industry again. Because if you heard that there was live ammo and you weren't like shut down everything, like it's insane. This is like hearing that somebody's cut the brakes on a car that's going to be used in a stunt, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's no big deal. Like, we don't need to pass that up along the food chain. We don't need to do anything about that. It's insane.
Well, Steve, why do you think this? I mean, like Southern Law, Steve, why do you think this happens?
Which part, Jeff? Because I was fuming about something in my mind here that was going on in the chat, which is somebody
what were you
calling
fuming about in chat? That's more interesting than my question.
No,
well, somebody calling my wife retarded twice, and I'll have something to say about that. But my wife is an NRA certified handgun instructor. She's a certified RO for USPSA. She shot more rounds than that asshole ever will in his whole fucking life. And I'm an ex-Green Beret. I've shot in 6 figures of shit. So kiss my ass. That's what I was thinking. Sorry.
Nope, that's better than my question. Go ahead.
It's spicy, man. That's
so whoever said that, go intercourse yourself.
Oh my god.
I'm for it. I'm for Southern
We were
Law,
trying to figure out what brings on the fire in
Green
Steve, and we found it.
Yeah, he found it all right.
Good for you.
Because one thing that does make me mad is when dumb people don't realize how stupid they are. And they talk to people who are intelligent and actually have experience, like what they're saying makes any sense, and you're just stupid.
Well, I hope she jumps back in because the person's been removed. And
don't insult people's wives. That's just uncool.
No. I totally agree.
Here's the thing. She knows more about guns than that guy does. We have 50,000 rounds of ammunition at this house at any time. You can't show any of it on a live stream. There are guns everywhere outside the angle of this camera. because we shoot. I mean, we used to reload 10,000 rounds a fucking week because our kids would shoot too. We would shoot competition at a Sir Walter match or Sir Walter Raleigh match, USPSA, with the right number of people there. About 20,000 rounds would be shot live in one match. You don't think we know safety protocols?
I'm so jealous.
You don't think she knows safety protocols, being a certified RO, and then some asshole wants to tell her she doesn't know what she's talking about? She knows. As I've said before, I know more about guns than I do the law because of my background in special forces. So people that want to say that to my wife, they don't know what they're talking about. So how about learn a little and shut up more?
10,000 rounds a week. I'm
That's
so
a great
freaking
tagline.
jealous of you. That just sounds like that's like heaven.
I mean, our kids shot with us too. I mean, this place would be on the news if they ever come check me for anything.
Learn a little and shut up more. That's fantastic.
Seriously,
I want that on a mug.
I always hate when the news says like, "Oh, we found 1,000 rounds of ammunition." That's like an arsenal, and then I look at the file and it's a box of 22.
Yeah,
like it's
that's like the back of my car.
Yeah.
Come on.
And on that note, Steve, I love what you're saying there, but I've also found YouTube commenters and chatters are often wrong, but always certain.
That is true. And most of the chat is good, of course. I think when you can disagree on anything, you can even be wrong on anything. But when you combine stupidity and rudeness together, that's what lights me up because they just don't know how dumb they are sometimes, people like that. And it's sad to see that. It's sad to see somebody walking through life who's so stupid that they don't know how idiotic they appear to people who know what they're talking about.
Shut up and listen to your betters.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is they don't
baby.
know. They don't know what they don't know.
No.
Well, if I ever make it to your neck of the woods, I would love to go shooting with you.
No,
hell yeah.
Man, we're class 3 stuff here. This is America right here, baby. We got it all here. Full auto, short barrel, suppressors, whatever you need.
Well, I'm thinking you're only about 3 hours away from me.
I just need to know where to go in Houston. That's all I need to know.
Hell, anywhere in Houston, right?
I'm working on getting my business firearms license, and if they approve everything I've asked for, I'm going to be buying some of that stuff myself.
I'm going to Houston in August.
Canada.
I just need to know where I can spend 3 to 4 hours of absolute bliss in Houston. That's all I need to know.
Well, I'd love to learn how to shoot. I know nothing. I'm a Californian. I'm an Angelina.
Well, you know what'll make me feel better? Super chats.
Well, Eric, you told me to get fired up, so we didn't manage to get it.
We got that covered. And apologize to Mrs. Southern-Law for me personally. I don't always catch everything that's going by.
Of course not. It's not you.
Well, it's still my stream. It's my house, and I don't like that. Nick Campbell, this is going back to the submarine. Remember that? Someone wanted to be John Galt and ended up Smuckers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was thinking that he's more like an Andrew Ryan figure from the game BioShock.
Just marinara sauce, that's all.
And Seth Kinney, by the way, just texted. He told Carrie Morrissey that if he had any iota of responsibility for this senseless tragedy, quote, I would accept nothing less than jail time. And he's been very open with me. I mean, he's shared a lot of stuff. Enraged Bacon. By the way, when I said about the plinking earlier, it was not Seth Kinney. So I do want to clarify that. The Coast Guard briefing is where they said what they found. The Admiral handed it off to the expert of what they found during the briefing. Okay, thank you. I heard last night that the Navy registered the implosion days ago, as we were talking about, and we speculated about Hunter, and Joe said, no, Hunter's my bro. Shut up, Eric. You stupid, dumbass schmuck. I don't want to hear another thing from you, and I understand, so I will be nice to your friend Hunter.
I'll ask you this.
I'm going to agree with Joe on this one, though.
Wouldn't they have put it out a day earlier? Wouldn't they have, if that's really your theory, wouldn't they have put it out a day earlier when everyone was freaking out about the Hunter plea agreement?
Yeah. There was better timing to shut down Hunter by revealing that just as that was happening.
An hour later.
Yeah. And then okay, Hunter's been, and we've confirmed they're dead. And you'd annihilate that in the media. But I actually suspect that what they were thinking is just, we are still going to look for the, 51% of the corpse or whatever they can find. And we're going to get so much flack about how much money we're spending on this if we announce that we know that they're dead.
Well, I mean, and that's what I was saying. The Coast Guard are Jesus. Supercars racing down the street outside my house at
I was like looking around
3 o'clock in the morning. Holy crap!
I wonder how much money they were actually spending. Seriously, that we had to push back on that because one, they were using money. Well, you know what? They were out there doing this anyway as training exercises half of the time. Let's be honest, and they're using an unmanned vessel. So it could be written right under training exercise. So I don't know how much extraneous quote unquote money that is.
And the government is very careful about wasting money. So
I don't think it's a reasonable argument. I just think that they would have gotten a lot of flack for it, even if it's like 10 grand, which is basically the wine budget for one politician for one day.
Yeah. Or a Supreme Court justice, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like the Coast Guard is naturally Pollyanna-ish, and they will continue as long as there is a hope that it is a search and rescue. Rather, they don't do search and recoveries; they do search and rescues.
Good.
Well,
and I'm glad
the Coast Guard and the Navy treat it as training exercises.
To answer Cool Frog Super Chat. Oh, sorry. Shahzada Dawa was a billionaire. Son was aboard the vessel. Who gets the billions that he was worth? Zelensky.
The worst case scenario for them would be to say, hey, listen, we heard the implosion. We're calling this off. And then like 6 months later, some fisherman finds this like floating capsule and it has written on the inside, like, please rescue, like, please
in
let
blood.
Us out. Yeah, it's like that would be their worst case. So they're
with cannibalism inside, right?
But the reporting of the knocking though wasn't helpful either, going the other way. No. So I don't know. I agree with that. Little Rock, your heirs could bring the suit. Negligence and intentional acts cannot be waived, so that would not hold.
Yes, but that's assuming that the waiver is in fact still valid. Then your heirs can't bring suit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Eric, can the panel review James Cameron interview bid? Probably not. I want to.
He just said, "Ooh, that was just retrospective. Ooh, we saw this. I saw this coming. Ooh, it's so much like Titanic, which it wasn't."
Little Rock, unless your name is Biden, then you get a sweetheart probation deal. I have 10 to 15 clients in federal prison right now for similar document crimes with a gun. Yeah, I think that anybody who has a degree of integrity would agree that that was a sweet deal for somebody.
I do have a cynical approach on the sweet deal, which is that right now they're looking at a court that is very much inclined to throw out gun restrictions in general. And I think that they might have been concerned that if it goes up to the highest level of court, they're like, you know what? We don't think it's an issue if he was a drug addict buying a gun. We're going to strike that down. And I think that
I saw something about that Hunter Biden could be the new face for the NRA to protect her. So some weird thing because of that.
So they might have just wanted to kill it to prevent it from going up and becoming an actual test case on that. But I don't know. There's multiple wheels spinning on that one, I think.
Yeah. Let me see. Joe Locko. Love these panels, guys. Any thoughts on Florida versus Peterson Parkland incident? They are in day 10 of the trial.
I have thoughts.
Okay.
No, actually, I did a short stream on this.
You are a thought.
I'm sorry. So generally, he's a resource officer, essentially a police officer, and the general rule is they don't have any affirmative duty to take any action to protect people, and I think that's why they brought the charges under the child abuse and neglect.
The debris is consistent.
Hold on. Sorry, somebody sends things to me, and I try to pull them up quietly.
No worries. And in it, I did a breakdown of the statute, the Florida statute, and Steve probably knows it way better than I do. But there's a very heavy emphasis on reasonableness, which means that he must take some reasonable step to protect the children, essentially, if it's feasible. And I have a hard time with that case and that line of reasoning to convict this guy, because there is no like independent duty. And then under the reasonableness standard that's built into that statute, I don't see how it even got this far, but that's my thoughts.
Have they actually called, like, I haven't been able to watch it for the last little bit. Have they managed to call any evidence as to what he was doing during this time? Because that's been the big gap in it.
from what I've gathered thus far, and I haven't watched all of it, is that he heard sounds from the football field and he was going that way. There was other witnesses too that just testified this morning I was listening to that said, yeah, the bullet sounded like they were coming from the football field. Yeah. Then there was a bunch of radio issues that was testified as well this morning. Like nobody could radio communicate inside the school. They could have made it happen in like 3 seconds, but they didn't. And so essentially he was running around outside thinking there was something going on outside, hearing echoes. That's been the evidence.
Shit. Yeah, that sounds like a BS defense attorney.
Shit.
I don't like this guy. Baby. I don't like the guy, but I don't think he's going to get convicted.
I don't think he should get convicted. You can call him a coward all you want. See, I don't think he should under the law because I think what I'm seeing here. Let me say this too. What I'm seeing is a trend holding people responsible for the intentional wrongful acts of others. That's what I'm seeing as a trend, and this is more in line with that trend.
Teacher, I have a statement. He was the only one with great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man taught us that. This is a guy who gets $100,000 a year pension, who is the guy who is entrusted on campus to have a live firearm on his side, and he decided not to do this. If there was one guy, and the fact that there are people saying we knew that Mr. Peterson had a gun, and we were just waiting for him to come and help us, and we don't know why he didn't come. If you're not going to do it, if you're not, you may not have a legal duty, but you have a moral duty to do this. And
that I will agree with. I will agree with you, Jeff. That you have a moral obligation, and that he can be a complete asshole. But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily illegal to be an asshole.
I hate that.
The elephant in the room is also Uvalde.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about Uvalde when you have a whole force?
I think that, well, really, it's fire everyone and rebuild.
400 plus people in Uvalde. Yeah.
Well,
and also
it's funny because
the whole idea
I was actually
you have a gun-free zone, so the government creates an area where nobody can defend themselves, and then they say, "Oh, but the police will protect you." And then when something happens, the police are like, don't have to do nothing.
I actually covered, there was a case in Canada that has some similarities. It's Monroe is the, and basically this cop got shot going in to stop a robbery and then spent 90 minutes bleeding out and begging for his life as he was being mocked by the killers. And the officers outside were actually ordered not to go in. They were being told by the brass, don't go in. And finally, the guy that they had posted at the door who was having to listen to all of this basically just radioed in and said, hey, go F yourselves. And he went in and 3 other cops were like, yep, we're doing that. So they followed and they successfully took out the robbers.
Look at the nutshell.
But if, depending where we are, Ian, watch that cop get prosecuted for doing that.
Yeah, and that's,
it's like if it was Bingerland or others, I could literally see that cop being hemmed up on charges for reckless endangerment and all kinds of crazy bullshit.
But like Uvalde, I just look at it and I'm like, I know airsoft teams that could have gotten that job done.
I have another.
There was a husband to a teacher who could have gotten the job done who tried to go in. Saying
they took his weapon and
but more to my point of holding people responsible that didn't actually pull the trigger in Detroit or Hamtramck, a local case just last week. A store clerk is charged because there was a robbery. He locked the door so that the robber couldn't flee, called the police, but there were 3 other people inside. The robber opened fire, shot all 3 of them, killed one of them, and the clerk is now being charged as well.
That is crazy. Yeah.
So it's just, again, it's this charging people criminally for the intentional wrongful acts of others. I have a problem with, just a fundamental problem.
But I mean, that's also like the felony murder rule, which I mean, I don't like. But if we're going to have that same principle applying to like the lookout who didn't even know there was a gun on scene,
I'm okay with the felony murder rule. I'm not okay with assault being the predicate.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite the same because the store owner was not a participant in the event.
We have a shopkeeper's rule in Michigan. He's allowed to lock him in until the police show up.
Yeah.
I guess the question that they're having in this case is, did that prevent other people from maybe escaping? I don't like that charge like at all.
No, I don't like it
don't
either.
either.
I just see a slippery slope going this way.
That would be, I think, a civil. To me, that would belong in civil court at most, to where they could say, no, you could be liable for or whatever insurance, but criminal, it does not. I don't think it meets that.
There's this big trend to have like the criminal law be our solution for every time we're upset and every time we have hurt feelings about things.
Like the Trump federal indictment.
Sometimes it's just shitty things happened, and maybe you don't need to throw somebody in jail for it. Like that shopkeeper, I'm sure he was trying his best, right? He's just trying to figure things, and he's not trained in like what to do in this situation.
He's told by his boss, if someone tries to steal stuff, lock the doors and call the police. And they have a remote lock from behind the counter, and
All right, I've got a video that Joe wants to interrupt everybody with.
Oh no! Just because you boomered the moment doesn't mean this
I
was
didn't
shared
boomer
with
the
me.
moment. You're the boomer yourself. You won't even own your generation, Xer.
The debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber.
That's it.
That's Grimsbar. He put that together like that. Like that. You have to be impressed with the speediness of his work.
All right. On that note, so I'm going to roll out with the rest of the super chats. Bottom line, if you mock Trump on SNL, laws are sliced and diced to find you innocent. If you are Trump, laws will be sliced and diced to find you guilty.
Yeah.
Interesting. Nate the lawyer. This is such an awesome panel. Subscribe, bitches. Agree. We finally crossed 23,000, folks. Maybe we could get to 22,100.
Love it.
Go team.
Theo Fastest 3.0. Never mind. I can't say it. Often wrong, but always certain is my motto.
That's me.
Just yours.
I mean, for competition shooting, I try to fail faster.
Free Zachariah Anderson. Peace. Just saying. Let me see. This is actually worth 6.2 billion per Gap and Pentagon math.
That's a reference. That's a reference to the accounting error, which said, "Hey, we need to give Ukraine extra 6 billion right now." So.
Yeah. This was uninsured. They couldn't find any company that would write a policy. That's probably true. I would not be surprised.
Lloyd's of London is where you go for weird policies, and I can't see them being keen on this one.
No, I mean, well, it seems so obvious to anybody who just heard about the incident. It's like, well, wait a minute, it wasn't tested, wasn't checked. Here, sign me up.
Well, and also, if you're an insurer, it's like, what do you plan to put in this submarine? Oh, 4 billionaires? No.
Yeah.
All right.
Liability's a bitch.
Well, folks, we usually put the show together and everybody can pitch their product. Steve has been remarkably quiet today.
Remarkably quiet.
No, not Southern Log, but Gosney usually has got a book or two to hold up.
Oh wait,
where can people find you?
Well, everybody's they're picking on me because I got too many books. I'm on number 3. You're behind. You're out of date. There's the new one.
I don't know. I never got any in the mail, and I do audio anyway.
I think it's actually. I
just
impressed.
have number 2 within arm's reach.
Well, actually, let me say that I'm going to have a really cool interview. It's going to be a live stream. I'm sort of taking a break from my streaming because I have a big case I'm working on. But I do have a really cool live stream coming at 8:00 on Wednesday of next week, where I'll be live streaming an interview with author John C. Wright, who's a science fiction fantasy author. And he is an excellent, brilliant guy. And I interviewed him once and did a 3-part. It was not live streamed though. So I'm going to have it. It's going to be called Beauty and the Muse. So I'm really looking forward to that live stream. That's my next fun play day. And it's not a planned one. It's not one that I have to put a lot of time, thought, and effort into. So I'm going to do a live stream next Wednesday and then go back under the water for however long it's going to take to keep
under
this
the
case
water.
cooking.
Yeah.
I see what you do. Okay. By the way, just a note, everybody, there are links to everyone's channels in the description. You should be able to just click the name of each person and just subscribe. It should be really, really easy. You might want to say open in a new tab so you can hang out and the current stream, and please subscribe here. But Ian, where can people find you? What's going on?
I'm at Runkle of the Bailey. I was doing the Steve Gosney thing and not posting a lot of videos because I was writing a memo on a firearm issue here in Canada that is going to be a big problem. They're basically trying to suspend judicial review when they yank your license. But so I'll be posting more things. Trials of the Century is going to be coming up very shortly. Unfortunately, I think at exactly the same time as Steve's next stream. But I've also got a hot sauce that I'm hopefully going to be selling soon.
Send me a bottle. Send me a bottle. Send me a bottle.
I can send you a bottle. Because
I would buy a
so
bottle.
yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on the go. And Southern Lost Steve there. I'd love to have you on the channel at some point to talk about like competition shooting. You're much better at that than I am, so I'd love to pick your brain for tips. So
I don't know that I'm better than you, but I do agree with your philosophy that missing faster is not the road to winning.
Well, it's
but I've tried it.
Sometimes it's a matter of you get caught up on something and like learning to do things like, okay, I've shot at that target enough. It's time to move on to the next one. Yeah. Is an important skill.
Yeah.
So
Steve.
Well, you can find me right here and on Joe's epic stream from last night, and then on my channel about the criminal things that are going on here and there at Southern Law.
Okay, awesome. Chandler.
Humble.
You can find me at Remy, REMY_legal. And I'm actually working on something really exciting right now. I'm working on freeing Zachariah Anderson. I have been co-authoring a letter to the Wisconsin Attorney General with David Helm, with Natalie Wisco, and we are going to be working on a stream where Solomon Anderson is going to come on, and we're going to be talking about the next steps.
Oh, very cool.
That should be coming up next Friday.
Oh, awesome. Jeff.
Obviously Legal Advice, where you can find me right now. I'm doing the YNW Melly double murder trial, and Steve Gosney intimidates me by popping in on this stream and listens to me spout my nonsense a lot of but we're doing that. And of course every Monday is Maritime Monday. Gee, what are we going to be talking about this Maritime Monday? I wonder. The Titan incident, that's what we're going to be talking about. So everybody just come and join me for more speculation about the Titan incident on Monday and trial stuff every other day of the week. And I'll be on with David on next Friday.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if we were confirmed, but yeah, no, that'll be good. Next Friday.
All right. First timer, Dave.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. MLS Law Show right there. I'm a licensed practicing attorney in Michigan, and I have my little channel. Been doing some stuff on Zachariah Anderson, like Chandler just said, and Jeff. I have actually this Sunday, I'm going to be streaming one of my trials that I had a couple weeks ago, giving people an idea of kind of what a small commercial dispute, bench trial sort of thing would be like, as opposed to these grandiose trials that we actually watch. You know, this is 99% of the trials. This is kind of what we're going to be seeing. But yeah, and then a bunch of other, I do a lot of trial streams and stuff like that, but MLS Law Show. Thanks for having me on too, Eric, by the way.
Of course. And of course, regular viewers would know we always try to end the show with Joe to tell everybody where he can be. And Joe always has words of wisdom, doesn't always hold him to the end, but we always try to get words of wisdom from him at the end. So
I miss you, Joe. I miss you.
I've missed you too, Legal Vices. In fact, that reminds me, I have a birthday stream on Sunday. It's going to be my birthday on Sunday. And my family is basically decided that they're all packing out for different parts of the country for the summer. So I'm going to be spending my evening on stream and inviting you guys to join me here. If any of you can, hit me up so I can throw you in a thumbnail, that would be great. But that's going to be Sunday evening, probably starting around 8 p.m. Eastern and running for many hours with people popping in and out. That's the plan, although basically I have like 2 people who committed so far because I didn't tell anyone this plan until 10 minutes ago. But that's going to be on Sunday evening. My channel is called Good Lawgic. YouTube doesn't like me, but if I actually do content for Attorney Tom, it went viral this week. I got 3 million views on a video that I did on Facebook.
Whoa,
nice!
Wow.
That's yeah.
Holy
So
shit.
as long as it's not on my channel, if it's on Attorney Tom's, that's great. but still, 3 million people figured, hey, this is something I want to watch. So that's something. Anyway, so that means to me that my content sometimes can be worthy, and I'm sure that we're gonna have a lot of fun. There'll be probably some drinking and some jokes and some news and stuff like that. So I urge every one of you to join me on Sunday evening. And and I'll tell you, I have a thought that I want to share with you then, but I can start off now by telling you that one thing that people never seem to calculate when they're trying to figure out exactly how they should assess the situation